Today we are taking up modern European drama. Now, modern drama is defined as that written in the 19th and 20th centuries, primarily in Europe and North America. This is a very long period encompassing thousands of playwrights with very different styles, beliefs, and approaches. This means that any generic list of the features of modern drama will be extremely misleading, as there is no common features that are possessed by every single play fitting within this period. One major but not universal element of the modern drama is realism. The 19th century marked the beginning of a type of prose drama performed on a proscenium stage in which one could almost imagine that one was looking through a transparent fourth wall into the lives of ordinary people. This sort of realistic bourgeois drama is exemplified by playwrights such as Ibsen, Shaw, Chekhov, Wilde, Arthur Miller, and Noel Coward, and can range from drawing room comedy to tragedy. An opposing trend associated with literary modernism breaks with realistic conventions to either make explicit comment on dramatic apparatus or to use symbolic and other anti realistic forms of representation for aesthetic, political, or psychological reasons. Anti realistic playwrights include the German expressionists Ionesco, Beckett, Brecht, and Stoppard. Although no longer as common as it was in earlier periods, verse drama continued to flourish in works by such writers as Eliot, Yeats, and Christopher Fry. Playwrights themselves became entrepreneurs in this climate, giving the public a sellable product. Unlike the realist novelists of this period who satirized the bourgeois, the dramatist Eugene Scribe, the younger Alexander Dumas, and Victorian Sardou pandered to it. Scribe, Dumas, and Sardou wrote literally hundreds of plays that exemplified boulevard theatre. This term, like the comparable American designation Broadway theatre, denotes plays written less for art than for profit. In plays, now we look at some of the authors here in the modern English drama. English drama was at very low ebb when T.W. Robertson, a playwright and actor, appeared on the scene fully alive to the lack of realism and low artistic tone of the drama in his day. He determined to import realism into drama and raise its artistic level. The year was 1865, which witnessed the performance of his play. Society proved a landmark in the revival of the English stage. The revival manifested itself in stress on realism, both in subject matter and technique. In place of types and stock characters, Robertson presented individual men and women, persons of flesh and blood. In the matter of technique and form, he discarded blank verse and rhetoric in favor of natural and human speech. Robertson, however, was not a bold or revolutionary spirit, and he could not divest himself of the old traditions, such as romantic melodrama. He therefore failed to exercise any substantial influence on his contemporaries, and the much needed reform in drama required a more daring literary genius. The daring genius was found to some extent in Arthur Wing Pinero and H.A. Jones, who made serious efforts to drive away undiluted romanticism from the English stage. An expert craftsman, Pinero had the courage to introduce several innovations in dramatic technique. In his The Second Mrs. Tanqueray, produced in 1893, he played the pioneer in discarding the soliloquy and the aside along with certain other old stage conventions, thus bringing drama closer to life. The person who infused real new revolutionary blood into English drama was Henrik Ibsen, a Norwegian playwright. He was introduced to English audiences by J.T. Grain, a Dutchman, in 1890. In England, William Archer, the famous dramatic critic, enthusiastically espoused Ibsen's cause. Through Ibsen, genuine realism was introduced in English plays. Ibsen's characters are drawn from ordinary life, and characterization in his plays receives more attention than the patching up of a well-knit plot. Moreover, the plot in his play is essentially psychological, leaving little room for pure action or incident. The Ibsenian play is essentially a drama of ideas, of characters swayed with ideas and struggling against the forces of convention and society. Ibsen's ideas gave a rude shock to the susceptibilities of his contemporaries, but he was bold enough to stick to his theories and technique. Consequently, he exercised a great influence all over the continent, and the drama of ideas of revolt against society and convention came to stay. The tyranny of the star system and the strange stranglehold of the commercial minded theatre managers could no longer throttle true dramatic art. The renaissance of modern drama was in full swing with the advent of Ibsen. If William Archer propagated the plays of Ibsen, it was Shaw who imported the real Ibsen spirit into English drama. Highly original and independent in many ways, Shaw was immensely influenced by the plays of Ibsen, and like him, he became a champion of conferring the new freedom of subject matter and technique on English drama. Since the appearance of his first play, Widowers' Houses, in 1892, Shaw strode on the English stage like a versatile titan almost till the end of his days. Among modern English dramatists, he proved the most zealous advocate of rationalism and realism, brushing aside Victorian cobwebs. A proper climate for a drama of ideas was built by him, enlarging the dramatist vision and, above all, slowly forging an appreciative and responsive intellectual audience for his problem plays. His Arms and the Man, Candida, Man and Superman, St. John, to mention some of his best plays, brought English drama again into its own and provided inspiration and guidance to other plays. Playwrights I always have to preach, observed Shaw. My plays all have a purpose. The naturalistic play is intended to be objective and impersonal, though both Galsworthy and Barker could not be absolutely dispassionate. Both were revolutionaries in their own way. Barker revolted against the tyranny of Victorian convention over the individual, and Galsworthy resisted against the heartless but mighty social forces which crushed the individual. Barker expounds the ideal of self realization, while Galsworthy strives to make out a case for tolerance and mutual understanding and accommodation. Shaw is essentially a talker, and his plays abound in discussion. Both Galsworthy and Barker talk about the possibilities of life and the strong undercurrent of emotion which eventually sway human life. Both deal with problems mostly social in character, but despite all his legal training, Galsworthy is the more didactic of the two. Barker leaves the public to draw its own moral. Nevertheless, in all his best plays, Strife, Justice, The Skin Game, Loyalties, Galsworthy shows himself at once a great artist and a great critic of society, far more balanced, reserved, and impartial than Shaw. The popularity of realism and naturalism did not oust the romantic element altogether from the domain of modern drama. Realism stimulates the brain, but a touch of romanticism vivifies the heart. It was J. M. Barrie, a Scottish novelist, who provided the lies of romance by turning his face away from the drab and cruel reality. He found solace in magic isles and the imaginary dream islands. Gifted with a child's fancy and make believe, he was at best with children. And it is children's play, Peter Pan, in which he is at his best. Among his other plays mentioned may be Maid of Quality Street, which centers around a sweet love story full of his peculiar charm, humor, and pathos, smiles, and tears. The admirable Kirsten, What Every Woman Knows, Dear Brutus, Mary Rose are all plays far removed from realism, presenting impossible characters who behave impossibly. Barrie created a new type of play which can best be described as burlesque, a blending of romance, whimsicality, and quaintness. A perfect master of technique, he produced plays which, despite all their fantasy and romance, are compact and well knit. W.B. Yeats glorified the national myths and legends and depicted primitive human emotions. Essentially a poet, he gave beautiful ideas and first-rate lyrical poetry, but failed in characterization and plot construction. His contribution to drama lies essentially in the realism of poetry and symbolism. The Irish movement also inspired a new type of native comedy, drawing its inspiration from Irish folklore and Irish peasantry. His works include At the Hawkswell, The Countess Kathleen, The Land of Heart's Desire, Purgatory, The Resurrection, King's Threshold, Deirdre are some of his works. The best exponent of this comedy was the talented J.M. Synge, whom Yeats discovered in Paris. Wasting his genius as a journalist, Synge drew his inspiration largely from the simple fishermen of the Aran Isles. There he saw human nature both at its best and its worst. He also picked up the native speed and picturesque idiom of these people. Synge's best comedies are Shadow of Glen, The Tinker's Wedding, and particularly The Playboy of the Western World. The last was at once recognized to be his masterpiece after its performance at the London Theatre in 1907. Synge also wrote a few tragedies, the best of which is Riders to the Sea. Drinkwater and John Mansfield, who brought about the actual revival of poetic drama. Drinkwater did not attempt to write in blank verse and thus escaped comparison with great Shakespeare. He produced 4 poetic plays but used both prose and verse in them. Finally, he gave up poetic drama altogether and wrote only in prose. His masterpiece is Abraham Lincoln, a play on the life of the American president. His other plays, Cromwell and Mary Stuart, are also historical, but they didn't come up to the level of Abraham Lincoln. Masefield chose at first biblical or historical subjects and experimented with various lyrical meters, including rhymed couplet, but he finally evolved a poetic idiom in prose. Like Synge, he forged a new pattern of rhythmic speech, terse, figurative, and rooted in the soil. His characters are simple, rustic folk. His best play is The Tragedy of Nanwich, presents a picture of rustic cruelty, though it is not without a certain element of tragic grandeur. The play, though written in prose, is essentially poetic. Among other exponents of poetic drama was John Flecker with his Oriental plays Hassan. Deserved special mention. It is written in highly colored prose, but it is, like Mansfield's Nan, steeped in the spirit of poetry. Lawrence Benyon, Lord Dunsay, Gordon Bottomley, and T.S. Eliot have also attempted poetic drama. T.S. Eliot's Murder in the Cathedral has proved a success, but the plays of the others have failed to elicit much appreciation. Naturalism originated in 1860s France as a movement interested in science and social behavior caused by biological factors, as opposed to romanticism interest in emotion and personal experience. Naturalism grew out of an interest in Darwin's theories about creatures, their survivability, natural selection, and dependence on the environment. Aesthetism was associated primarily with Oscar Wilde and focused on art for art's sake, a movement that emphasized beauty over the social or political use of artwork. Symbolism was associated with Maurice Maeterlinck of Belgium, Madame Rachilde of France, and William Butler Yeats of Ireland, and emphasized mysticism, subjectivity, and suggestion instead of direct common speech. Dadaism, led by Romanian Tristan Tzara, flourished in the Cabaret Voltaire in Zurich during World War I and created nonsense poems, musical pieces, and mass performances. Surrealism, led by Andre Breton, focused on Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytical and dream theories. Alfred Jarry's King Abu became an iconic surrealist. Frenchman Antoine Artaud became surrealism's most influential dramatist and created a theatre of cruelty, a primal theatre inspired by ancient rituals as well as the Marxist Brothers film comedies. Artaud's The Theatre and its Double discusses plague, primitive myths, and Balinese animated hieroglyphics in the context of curing the decadence of modern life. The avant garde became associated with progressive art, particularly related to socialism and anarchism. In Italy, futurists became associated with fascism, extreme nationalism, and advocacy of war. Dadaists opposed war and embraced socialism to destroy class based society. Surrealists often joined communist parties. Russian futurists participated in the Russian October Revolution of 1917 as socialists. Bertolt Brecht is the most influential political playwright of avant-garde movement. He developed epic theatre. Epic theatre relies upon techniques that interrupt the flow of plot and acting, which Brecht felt would lead to contemplation rather than observation of spectacle. Erwin Piscator taught Brecht the values of using film and other art forms in the theatre, which led to collaboration with composers including Kurt Weill. Tragedy, meta-theatre writers including Edward Albee, Arthur Miller, Tennessee Williams, and Eugene O'Neill explored tragedy in everyday American life, including economic, social, and personal challenges. Meta-tragedy, also called meta-theatre, focuses on role-playing and the relationship between reality and theatrical illusions, and is based on the belief that tragedy cannot suit the modern world. Ligue Pirandello's Six Characters in Search of an Author and Jean Genet's plays are famous meta-tragedies. The Russian Revolution of 1917, World War I between 1914 and 1919, and the stock market crash of 1929 showed the destructive potential of technology and industrialization. Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal included a federal theater project that provided theater sponsorship. African Americans flocked to Harlem due to racism and economic problems in the South. Harlem becomes a cultural center for jazz, fine arts, and dramas by Zora Neale Hurston and Langston Hughes. World War II ended the period of modern drama, generally placed between Edison's demonstrations of the light bulb in 1879 to the atomic bombing of Hiroshima in 1945. Now, if you have any questions based on modern European drama, you can place it in the segment below and I shall answer them. Thank you.